So now I'm just going to talk about qi, some different qualities and understandings of qi, and then I'm going to speak to a few different parts of the paradigm we're going to get into, and then we can have some Q&A. So I think most of us are familiar that the word qi is most often translated as energy, life force, life energy, and things like that. In Chinese language, the word qi modernly is used for air and atmosphere, sometimes steam, sometimes, and the gas you put in your car most of the time, because it's now used to describe what we use for energy, right? In Chinese medicine, up until very recently, you would rarely ever use the word qi by itself. You would talk about the qi of the meridians, the qi of what blood is doing, the liver qi or gan qi, which tells you how the quality, the ness of your liver. So liver qi could be like liver ness, right? Which can cover a lot of territory from liver function to every emotion that's connected to the liver, every tissue, every function and stuff that we think of as liverness. So qi is usually used as a noun in English, and unfortunately that gets us into some conundrums when we think about practicing qigong and nei gong and things like that. When we think of liver qi, we're really talking about liver circulation and maybe in a way liver communication in the sense of what enzymes and hormones can do in the body. So when we're getting into our qi practice, one of the first things you're going to notice is better circulation. You could say in the sense of neurotransmitters, you're going to have better communication throughout the body because you're in a less inflamed, less distressed state. So everything's getting where it's going and all the messages are getting where they need to get to. So your body's in the most efficient state of circulation and intercommunication, or thatness kind of state, because you're just reducing the noise. Now, there's a story that can be told a few different ways, but when you look at the earliest characters for qi, it was describing kind of vapor or smoke or something like that. And I once had a teacher sit with something that was smoking, that when you inhaled, think of incense or maybe even smoking a joint or something, that the smoke that's coming off of that incense, when you smell it, it changes how you feel. Maybe it changes how you think. Now, cannabis obviously really changes how you think. So, and the reason I bring up cannabis is we want to be aware that smoke has a potential beyond just combustion. Because when you inhale the smoke from incense or other things, it'll change your state. Now, before, well, the confusion of modern life, people had the same experience. They just had no idea about molecules and cannabinoids or psychedelic compounds or whatever else might be in the incense, right? So when I had this conversation with a teacher, we're watching the smoke kind of go away and evaporate. What he had asked me to do is look at the last molecule of smoke that I can see while he was holding on to this thing. And I just watched the smoke and watched it disperse and disperse until there was no more smoke. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting thing to consider because we're both affected by what's in the smoke, but we can't see what's in the smoke. But even if you're breathing in smoke far enough away, you can't see the smoke, you're still going to be impacted by that chemical, what we now know as chemical. Back then it was called qi. And that's basically translated in some of the earliest texts in Chinese medicine and early Taoist thought as the finest matter influence. The thing within the steam that's still present when you can't see the steam or the smoke that still influences the way we feel, right? So they weren't talking about something magical. They were talking about something tangible, but something tangible that arises from the intangible. And that's that fun boundary in Qigong practice, Nei Gong practice with Qi is, I feel different, but I don't know what made the difference happen. So this is when making Qi a noun, seem like makes sense, but at the same time, can get us into some trouble. So another example of this in the sense of Qi and air would be noticing that nowadays we know that trees breathe out oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide and trees breathe in carbon dioxide. So there's this beautiful interplay between trees and mammals that, again, we can think of as oxygen and carbon dioxide, or because early hunter-gatherer awareness, early meditation awareness there's places that have really good air. Maybe it's negative ions, maybe it's how you breathe producing nitric oxide, other things like that. But whatever the air is doing, it relates to that idea of that finest matter influence, because there's places that have really good air and really meh air, or really good chi and really meh chi. So let's try another thing here, and I'll just turn off the screen share a bit. So again, the body is the mind before the mind is the mind. And one way to look at Jing, Qi, and Shen is to imagine a candle.